So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Hey lovelies, we're back. Welcome to another Round the Kitchen Table, the show where we try to keep it real. We try to monitor our own censorship, soft censorship, being PC. Who really wants to be that? Not me particularly. I've got Nan from Ireland. I've got Scotty, who's a Scot from Australia. And we've got DB, who is an Aussie. We've got to go there today because we're fresh out of the Tommy Robinson retrial at the Old Bailey. We've all been watching it, I think. I don't know, we've not spoken, so we've just come on air. This is about as unscripted as it gets, I think. So I'm not going to go too far into it, and I'm not going to lead straight to the point, but basically you got jail time. The crowd outside, it come close a couple of times. And I know what I'm thinking. I even wrote it once, trying not to censor myself, rightly or wrongly. But there you go. It's gone off. Tommy's going to jail. It's not good. It's not a good day for Britain. It's not a good day for justice as a whole. It really annoys me that I pay these people's wages to go and create this kind of injustice by the highest ranking officials law-wise in the country. I'm pretty dismayed. I guess on one hand, on a positive note, it could have been a lot worse, but he's still got to survive this thing out again. I think in a way it's even possible that they're going to make the movement stronger, which is what happened last time. I'd like to see some outrage by some high level people from different parts of the world. So that's what we've got to cover straight away. Why are we covering it? Because we've just come out of it, because this is a pre-recorded show. Right, let's just get one in there straight away. We don't often go to Scotty first. Scotty, what's your take on this?
Well, Rhea, the main fact, I think, of this is that no one has been jailed for contempt of court since 1940 in the UK. So, you know, it's set a new precedent here. And I think the irony that there was some thing on today regarding freedom of press or protection of the press in London, a conference set up by Britain and Canada. The irony of that is just, it's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And, you know, I find this whole thing just absolutely upside down. I just find everything it's the Twilight Zone, you know? And
Inverted.
I was on... It's totally inverted. It's the upside down, you know. And I was on Facebook yesterday. I was trying to get in touch with a mate. I eventually found out that he's got a new number. He doesn't have a personal phone. He uses his business phone, so always hard to find him. And I had to go on Facebook, and fourth time in 18 months. And so I seen they had a tweet from someone who was giving all the love to Tommy and all the best wishes to Tommy for the court case today. And this person, who I've known for about 30 years, and some others on her Facebook post were laughing at the fact that he was going to jail. And I just commented, what the hell, you know, this guy is going to jail no matter what his political beliefs. You know, you're potentially laughing at the fact that someone is going to die in jail, could potentially die in jail, and that person instantly bans me. So this is me getting a kind of personal taste of the echo chamber and the people not debating these facts, not the bias about because of the media and everything as well. It's just the bias of the court system, the bias of the police, um, you know, the kind of absolute, idiocy of the fact that the guys that he was originally reporting on, the crimes they were up for, it's like, yeah, as I said, it's upside down. I'm actually trying to let this stuff sink in at the moment. It's very difficult to kind of process at the moment. Um,
Let's
I
pass it
mean,
round then, Scotty, and you have a little bit of a process there. We get the idea where you are, and you've had a personal treatment as well. Let's throw it over to DB. DB, your thoughts on this one?
Well, they're mixed, I'm pretty cheesed off. I think we all are. It might come down if to maybe, what is it, under 3 months he might actually physically serve with time already served. I will have to clarify that later on in the gig, but okay, he's not a journalist. You're right, he hasn't been to uni and he hasn't got these credentials and he hasn't interned at blah 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 blah. He is he's a voice of the people, and I'm sorry, yeah, there is a place for these people who do the hard yards and do that absolute uni journalistic thing, working for the BBC and having bosses and all that. But this whole citizens journalist thing that's taking place, they don't have a boss. It's a little bit like Bitcoin. It can jump around from person to person, from user to user. And so what, you're going to jail all of us? You're going to get us all? You're not going to. It's like the war on drugs. You can't just lock them all up and it goes away. You've already proven that to yourselves. But then again, this doesn't go to what's right and wrong. This goes to malfeasance, misuse of justice as a service to humanity, let alone misuse of justice in the sense of the country's own laws. It's to shut them up for the cabal. They're throwing them over their head and hitting them into walls like a caveman would throw around an antelope, to try and say, don't try this at home. Well, everybody's going to try it at home now because nothing galvanizes the public more like trying to boss them around. You can't boss people around. Haven't they learnt that by now? Even in their Nazi days, they learned it in the 40s. And now the Nazis again, have slithered back into Europe and are trying to take it over using immigration and using every means necessary. But Boris is riding in on a silver bike and it should neutralise a lot of it. And yes, people can say there's concentric circles of interest there with Boris and what's happening. But like Katie Hopkins tweeted earlier on a few hours ago, and I'd like to read it out, but I just can't find it as yet. There's a lot of promising things happening. We've just got to buckle up. I wish the best for Tommy. He's a tough lad. I'm sure he'll be keeping a good 6 o'clock. And I worry about his family. But it's been said, done and dusted, and he's copped one on the chin. And if he can do under 3 months, 2.5 months, I think he'll all right. He'll be all right, and it'll be gone, and he can proceed. And this will galvanise everybody. Back to you, Rhea.
Nan, my darling, what do you think?
I think there's a lot of synchronicity going on because I had the word inversion written down before Scotty said it. So, yeah, we're seeing a lot of that at the moment. I thought it was significant as well that the night before this particular sentencing that that Tommy reached out to Trump for seeking asylum in the US for himself and his family. He did put out there that he thought he might be killed in prison. He was targeted the last time and put in a very dangerous type of prison. So I'm just hoping this time that he survives that. But I think that what we're seeing here is some sort of a hijacking of a moral compass. We're seeing the cabal and the deep state in action, I believe, because we're in the process of the changeover. If you want to equate it to like what blockchain is against what the control mechanisms that are in place already are. In Ireland as well, we'd had a woman jailed this week as well. Similar type of, well, not similar, but she was the girl. She was the woman that Gemma went out and highlighted her case with regard to the Child Protection Agency in Ireland, and that woman was actually jailed this week. So there's outcry in Ireland as well over these targeting, these types of, if you target the powers that be, regardless of whether they're morally right, there's no morals anymore anyway. It's just a case of you try and put your point of view forward, they're gonna shove you in prison. And I think that's the message that's been sent out here. It could happen to all of us. And the other thing is to remember, from the American situation, is that General Flynn did put out a call for researchers and anons and all of the We the People army, that we are the news. So we've got to keep on going. And I think with regard to the Tommy thing, we're just going to keep on shedding light on Tommy's situation. And Tommy is lucky that he has people to shed light on his situation, that there are plenty in this situation that people don't know about. So there's safety out in the light, I believe.
I'm with you totally. And, just to, before I sort of chime in as well, is to say, do you feel that this has actually revealed them more? Or do we feel that it will just be another news story in the mainstream media that's just been and gone and forgotten about? Because I've said many times in the past that man's greatest endeavour is unity in crisis. And we see a crisis here. We see a crisis within the culture, within the law, within the governing system. I came out plain as day and said, personally, I can't see the difference between organised crime, government and banking. I can't see that difference anymore. My faith is at definitely an all-time low after I see that judge say that he asked his followers to harass people going to court, rapists or accused rapists, when it was as plain as the nose on your face that he didn't say that. He was asking for the mainstream to start covering the cases and so on. So there's one of the questions I want to put to you. Do we feel that this reveals this agenda a bit more because it has come from the highest court in the land? I think that's your ballpark, DB.
Yeah, this is just to keep the cabal happy, it'll be little sad IQ Khan wielding what pathetic little bit of power he had, because he can't get to Trump. Trump just flicks him out of the way. So what'll he do? Just nasty, dirty, little more control and Machiavellian little moves within London, City of London Incorporated. We'll get you. So, he gets, tossed out of the way for the impotent little scumbag he is by Trump, and, of course he's going to be nasty. This is going to be nasty, and it's going to be, nasty all the way down the pike. But we've just got to weather it out, and good on the people. I just looked at a great photo of a guy standing. He's just sitting there, and he's got a bit of a wry smile on his face, relaxed and to his left, about 2 meters away, is a copper of the City of London with a truncheon raised, big bad bear type. He's going, "You don't bother me, mate." He's not having them on, or anything. He's just not cared about it. This is they're losing their potency all the time, and their argument and their integrity. Once you lost your integrity, you can't just glue a little bit of integrity back on. You lost it for good. It's like when we knock down our old buildings. You can't just build a facade. No, it's they're losing it. And what can only come out of this is a better London for all of you guys. But the detritus, the deep state, just like that creepy English ambassador who, the world's less one more deep state creepy crawly with the English ambassador to America being kicked out of the way. It's funny how fate plays a hand, isn't it? I'm really annoyed about this happening to Tommy, but to tell you the honest truth, I thought he'd get 6 months. And I'm really glad he's got 9.5 weeks. But at the same time, I wish he had 0, because it's your family that does the time. It's not the person in jail. He'll do it hard, but he's a tough boy, and if he keeps his wits about and keeps his 6 o'clock or 9.5 weeks, he should be right. But again, he'll have people that will be watching his back inside too and make sure he's looked after, I'm sure. But that's all just summation and hyperbole by me. It's all right. I don't have to. Is he going to be out on bail while he appeals this? And is it wise to appeal a sentence like this when it could be increased longer? That's what's got to be gleaned, I think. And I'm just glad everybody didn't get too up in arms about it, because the coppers would love that. They'd love it. Back to you guys.
All right, let's go over to Scotty. Scotty, the question was, do we feel that this has revealed the play more to the core? We can see it's now fully public for those that are watching and have eyes and ears for it, that this reveals it more, because this such an unjust thing has happened in the highest court of the land. Scotty?
Yes, I think it might open a few people's eyes, and obviously there's a huge bias amongst the people, and a huge amount of bias in the media, which is quite funny actually, because the BBC did print all the names of the people that he was getting done for contempt of court. So, that's odd. It wasn't as though these people weren't named. And I think the BBC were reporting from court as well. So it's all just odd. But it stinks of a stitch up for sure. And people are going to see this. They're going to see this worldwide. We've got friends across the world, so the Canadians will see this for sure, because Rebel Media is Canadian. America will see this as well, because I'm sure they've seen the kind of plea that Tommy did to get asylum with Trump, to get Trump interested. So this is going to open a few eyes up, and maybe shake a few people that were anti Tommy Robinson, but might shake them up and say, "Well, wait a minute, this hasn't been done since 1940. Is this fair? Because it clearly isn't. It's clearly they're making an example of Tommy, and I think the judge actually said that. I think one of the judges actually said that they're going to make an example of him. So, what's that saying? It's saying, don't do this. None of your citizen journalism. None of you saying anything against MSM, or you could get in trouble. And it's just another extension onto the censorship. And it just, again, I'm finding that, as I said, it's an inversion, but it's also just, it's injustice on steroids. It's just, it's absolutely crazy. And as far as the crowd going off, they were getting a bit rowdy, but with their voices. And there was, interestingly, City of London cops there, not Metropolitan, City of London cops. So I don't know what the significance of that is. But I think there was only 2 arrests for a fray or something like that. So, the crowd didn't go off, but they were incensed. And I think Tommy's asked them to turn up. I think it's Saturday he's getting jail. Sorry, I think it's Saturday that he's going to jail. So he's asked people to turn up at the prison. So it's crazy, but I'm hoping that it does open a few eyes, people who are not as, you know, far left, or, you know, kind of sitting in the neutral zone, just kind of think, what is this whole charade about? I think it might just click things in people, you know what I mean? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Nan, do you feel because this has been such a big PR stunt as well, it's not the kind of publicity you could buy, I don't think, and it is a worldwide thing, and because it's come from the highest court of the land, and I think everybody here, I mean, I can't speak for you guys, but I think on the whole, people have seen that there was evidence manufactured by the judge in saying that one of the charges was Tommy asked his supporters to harass these poor rapists, and it turned out that wasn't the case at all, and everybody knows that. So there's a large chunk of the population that sees it as the judge and the court of the highest court of the land of UK manufactured evidence. Do you think it's revealed in more, Nan?
Yes, I do. I think that this is going to shine even more light on what's going down here, you know, because people, like, regardless of whether you're with Tommy Robinson or against him, this is wrong, and people are going to see that, you know. We haven't seen a turnaround we haven't seen a turnaround yet happening, I believe, in the mainstream media. They're probably the last to fall, as will the judiciary and all the institutions that have been set up. You know, we have people being jailed for stupid things like civil disobedience or manufactured breaches of the peace. Meanwhile, proper criminals are protected. I'm just reading a headline here from France as well. This is just light shining on everything, and people are going to see, more and more people are going to see this. The likes of the story I just said there about our mother here in Ireland being jailed because she's challenging the child protection services with regard to her son. Now, I'm not familiar with the case, but I believe Gemma has done some issues on it there. But this is another one here. Listen to this, guys, and this is part of what's happening. The court in France has ruled that an Islamic State terrorist responsible for one of the most devastating Islamic terrorist attacks in Europe should receive compensation for a breach of his privacy. The Versailles Administrative Court determined the French government should pay the convicted terrorist €500 for monitoring his prison cell 24 hours a day. I'm not going to go any further with that, but I think you can see the lunacy of this, you know. I think we're going to see more of this before the tide turns, you know. Really gutted to see that sentence there for Tommy this morning. When you think about what he's been jailed for twice, you know, and he was released, he was jailed, he was released, he was charged, he was jailed again. And, you know, when you think about what Tommy was trying to report on, so this is a pure distraction, I believe, to try and keep the focus away from Tommy's original, what Tommy was trying to, sorry, I'm lost for words here, what Tommy was trying to focus on. So it's like, look here, don't look here. So what I think we should do is keep on looking where Tommy was looking, keep on reporting on what he was trying to bring to light, you know, as well as his case. So this is something new that we can do, you know, so that's what I think.
I think that's a really good point, Nan, and I'd like to point out as well that I found out that I put up on our Telegram channel. If you want to find our Telegram channel, just type in WBN and a space 324, WBN 324. You'll see our Telegram channel and you'll see this post that I'm about to mention. I found out the other day, right? You guys have probably seen it, but I'm guessing people that are listening to this haven't. During all this going on, if you look on my YouTube as well, which is virtually dead because they've killed it, it's Reabow, REA space BOW. You'll see a list of the grooming gangs and the names inside them, which I got death threats for publishing, by the way. And you'll also see another one breaking down what a D notice in, which I'm going to ask you guys in a minute. But did you catch the post on when Lord Pearson stood up in the House of Lords, which, if you don't know, is a friend of Tommy Robinson, and sees what's going on within the house, and he's the only one that will talk about it, and he takes some flack. Did you catch the numbers on how many girls were raped by largely Muslim rape gangs in 2015? Did anybody see the number? And that's just about says it all. I'll tell you how many girls were raped.
Was it 3,000 or so?
Nope, it was 6,850 girls were raped by largely Muslim rape gangs in 2015, and that stat comes from the House of Lords. 6,850 girls raped in 1 year. This is what they don't want everybody to know. So this is the thing, what you just pointed out, Nan. All the focus is on save Tommy, and that's fine, but you're not going to lose sight of those kind of numbers, because it's those kind of numbers. I can't even imagine how many people, bad people doing bad things to good little children, does it take to rape in 2015 6,850 girls. So
Ria, can I just ask you, did that figure come from the House of Lords?
It did.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it otherwise. There's no way I'm going to put numbers on something unless I'm sure.
Yeah. Just
And the crazy thing is, Tommy gets 9 months for contempt of court, and
I know.
these people that commit that get 18 months,
and they don't have to pay for their own court case. So suck that up, lovely listeners. 6,850 girls were raped by an 80% plus majority Muslim rape gangs that they call grooming gangs. Those numbers you'll see on our Telegram. If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see the breakdown of some of the names and everything. And I got my share of death threats and everything for publishing it, because obviously I don't want that out there. This is the kind of thing. So all the energy has been on Save Tommy, and rightly so. But I would not know personally whether you like Tommy Robinson or not. I would not know about this if it wasn't for Tommy Robinson, because of the D notice. So that's where we're going to go next. I'm going to ask you guys. Within the UK, you get something called a D notice. A D notice prohibits the press from reporting because it's a national security risk. A D notice breaks down into 5 areas, which I'm not going to go into right now. But one of the defending arguments that Tommy's lawyer had was that there was no information on this D notice. There was a lady that stood up from the court, I don't know her name, said no, the court failed to notify there was a D notice on this particular court case in Leeds. Judge turns around and says to Tommy, or Tommy's lawyer, you should have known because the other press weren't there. Then the brief comes back and says, right, so where can we get this information from? How many live cases have a D notice in? Well, they're not going to tell you, are they? Why are they not going to tell you? Because it's going to tell you how big this thing is that's being shut up. So on one hand, they're going to prosecute Tommy for not getting adequately informed that there was a D notice on this case. We have a lady standing up saying we failed to put it on the court monitor, we failed to put it on the doors, we failed to notify, but yet they won't give a website as to where live D notices are going on. An extension of this is in that rape gang that he was covering, and they were all found guilty and one run away back to Afghanistan or Pakistan, something like that. If they know one person that's involved with another rape gang charge that's up the road that's not been heard yet, by default, because they know each other, the one further up the road yet to be heard has a D notice on it by default because of the connection. And then if that one further up the road has another connection within those bad people to another one, that one has a D notice on. So via the D notice, they have been able to silence the whole thing, because these people doing these dark things to children, a lot of them know each other. As soon as that connection's made, they apply the D notice and you're never going to know about it. So the D notice, is it a good thing in this example or not? Let's go over to Nan.
The denotice thing is very significant. It's happening here as well. We had a similar issue here where there was a girl raped in 2010. It took 4 years for this to come to trial. There was a conviction, and there was it was an immigrant person here, and there was a 5 major denotice taken out against 5 major newspapers on reporting on the case, so when it eventually did come to light, the person left Ireland and is now playing professional football in Vietnam. But this is it. You can't know these things. You're not allowed to know. We, the people of a certain country, are not allowed to know any of the issues here. So those denotices, why? Ask yourself why. Why? None? They say it's that it could prejudice the case. So this is what's happening to Tommy. He was accused of prejudice the case, but this information was already out there in the public domain, and there were. I mean, you guys might have seen the showdown between him and was it a BBC journalist, where she was reporting on exactly the same things that he was reporting on. So I mean, this is all gonna. The cognitive dissonance here is astonishing. It'll have to level out sometimes. But this denotice, this cover up, is very worrying. It's happening all over the place.
It is, absolutely. And if you want to find out more, go to my YouTube channel. You'll see a full breakdown, all 5 examples of how the government and the guidelines for a government to administer a denotice. DB, your thoughts? Denotice, good, bad? What's your thoughts?
It's ridiculous. They had one over here about Pell, Archbishop Pell,
I read that.
The abusive cardinal, that covered everybody, but they and they're still trying to bust journalists on it. It turned out that the spooks here have followed the metadata of one journalist 58 times in 1 year or something. The ABC journalist who had something to do with releasing these stories about abuse by the troops in Afghanistan. Well, I'll tell you what, the American guy's just been cleared of killing that guy. He's having barbecues in his backyard on the 4th of July now, and that's a good thing. And some of these guys are in Afghanistan. They were getting tried by media on the basis of hearsay, and really left-wing biased hearsay too, I've got to say. It may as well have been Al Jazeera reporting on it. So I'm a wee bit in two minds about that going on. With denotices, well, they'll use them. Of course, they're going to use them to cover up these gang rapes. Let me just tell you about what happened here in Sydney. We've got a guy here called Bilal Scaff. He was born in 81. And by 2000, he'd committed gang rape attacks against women in Sydney. He's serving a 31-year prison sentence with a non-parole of 28 years. He won't get it. He won't be eligible for parole till 2033. Originally, he was sentenced to 55 years. There was a whole gang of these guys. His brother is doing 32 years. They actually appealed it, and it got knocked back down. He would have got out at 42 in 2023. But they chucked another 10 years on it. He's not getting. He won't even be eligible for release until 2033. He did it. These guys were. That was part of the reason they had these Cronulla riots ongoing afterwards. But these guys, it was in 2000 they were just gang raping girls and picking them up from train stations on the beach, and it was a disgusting carry on. These guys got slammed. They got smashed, and there was a whole bunch of them. Some of them have been released. There was a few. It's Mohammed Scaff, Bilal Hajiad, Mohammed Sanusi. These names are all out there. They've been out in the press. There's no denotice on this, but this is what happened here. And I tell you what, it put a sharp stop to a lot of that carry on. And then when they appeared in Cronulla, trying to tell women there were all sorts of names for wearing bikinis at the beach on a 40-degree day. That sort of sparked a whole lot of other issues as well. And of course, the Soros-based white supremacists got in and tried to avert and spin the media, as they do. And that's part of the reason they'll use the D notices. They're just trying to spin the media and cover up. It's all about cover up. Q's posting again, and he's posted a little bit about this, about what the media does and how it will use itself and use you and, you know, Antifa are trying to seem a lot bigger beast than what they are, etc. I've got a few quotes to read out a bit later on in the gig for you on what's been going on. There's some really good insights into just how things are progressing on a worldwide scale. With Tommy, well, we've got to cop it, don't we? He's got 9.5 weeks. This was always going to happen. I think, is it the way now that you report and just say, look, there's grooming gangs? You don't say religion. You don't say anything. Say, okay, East, I don't know, Kenwell or where it is, there's a grooming gang in action. You don't say if it's male. You don't say if it's what religion. How can they be against you reporting on that? Are they pro-grooming gangs? You know, so is it getting down to that stage where you have to be absolutely sterile in your report of it? The same as the mainstream media won't even say if it's an Asian or if it's a, you know, it's just ridiculous now what appearance people are. It's going to fold in on itself, and we've got to weather it out. We're going to be agitated, frustrated, annoyed, and really angry, but we've just got to surf over it and keep calm and carry on. Back to you, mate.
Scotty, D notice. Good, bad, what are your thoughts? Scotty, you there? Or you're harmonising with your equipment?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yeah. Right. Well, the D notice, it's a funny thing because it's something that's evolved to be total censorship. When a D notice was first conceived, it was mainly, you know, during something that would be used in wartime or whatever. It was for security. It's for national security. So it's been totally bastardized now by the fact that you know, it's encapsulating stuff like this, and they're using it as they see fit. You know, there's not, you know, I don't think there was any D notice on this today, was there?
That's it, you can't know.
So it's the fact that there's nowhere for you to check it. It's only listed when you get to the court. Tommy Robinson actually, I think, in that feed he did on Facebook, actually showed the board on the court saying that there was no D notice. But the fact that this was made up originally for national security, and then it's morphed into this now where it's essentially just censorship. And it's not protecting the security of the people, it's protecting what they don't want out. It's just pure censorship again. Yeah, and I think it's something that's getting misused from obviously from its original purpose, but it's I don't understand why I do understand. I do understand why they're not letting this stuff get out, especially with the grooming gangs, because they know that there'll be almighty hell to pay, you know, because as you said, them numbers you gave, people just dismiss that. They dismiss it as rubbish or it's right-wing propaganda or whatever, and it's just this inversion keeps coming up. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, do you know it's his bad idea? And my coach, you know, you have to be transparent all the way down the line if you want true justice. You know, unfortunately, that's the way. You know, it's when you say, "Oh yeah, well, it's," you know, the criminals are getting more protection than what the victims are these days.
Amen to that.
That's just crazy. It's just crazy. So, the victims will be their stories, or not their stories, but the gruesome details and their pictures will be spread about the papers. But the people who committed this are invisible. You can't find their names, or you do get their names, but you don't see pictures. No more details about them. It's just like, this is crazy. You are making the victim more of you kind of victim, criminalizing the victim in a way. You know what I mean?
Can I jump in there for a sec, Scotty? Oh, are you there?
Of course.
Well, I'm just going to revert back to this Q post, and he writes, the job of the media, 90% owned by 6 corporations, is not to inform the public of truth using facts, but to con the public using falsehoods and opinion to paint a narrative that is designed to keep the sheep in line in order to maintain control and regain power. People awake and united ends their control. Brainwashing. Q. And that's a fact. It also linked to this post, which I think undercurrent this thing with Epstein and everything that's going on is to pay a little bit of mind to. And it reads like this. We know you wish to connect Trump to Jeffrey Epstein, but you will discover that 1, Trump is not in the flight log to Epstein's Little St. James Lolita Island, not even once. Trump hitched a ride from Daytona Beach to New York City with Epstein's son once. Upon learning that Epstein had assaulted a 14-year-old daughter of an employee, Trump kicked Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago golf club and banned him for life. At Epstein's first arrest, Trump voluntarily went to the police to give a statement. The police commented that Trump could not have been more forthcoming. That's the end of it. But that's using Trump, but also to relate to how the D-notices work and how they use the mainstream. And they're using it in Britain now in order to maintain control and regain power. Because they lost a lot of mana, a lot of standing, a lot of the little pompous, sad IQ City of London standing there when here's this mayor jumped up, starts to talk about the President of the United States visit to the Queen, and he starts talking about seating arrangements. Get back to the kids' table, you little squirt. I mean, this is ridiculous. And the whole, look, France is gone. Forget it. They're kissing the backside of the whole of Islam now. It's going to be Francistan, such a beautiful historic city. Even the Nazis couldn't knock the buildings over. Well, Islam will. You wait. But that's their problem. Get yourself disconnected from this EU festering pit with old Shakes Merkel at the helm. You wouldn't like her on the wheel of a boat, would you? So, you'd end up on land within a day or two. Just, all of this culminating in the way they denotice everything, the way they're hiding. It's all the mainstream con, and people that are 10, 12, 15 steps ahead of them are just opening the noose and covering it with leaves for them, and they're stepping into it all over the joint. Back to you, mate.
Let me just jump
Rhea,
in there.
Go on, Nan. Go on, Nan. Oh, I just wanted to add in there as well that we must remember it wasn't a D notice, but it's the equivalent of where the bubble that is Facebook, Twitter, Google, and all of those precluded any reports on Sri Lanka and also New Zealand. The New Zealand incident. So, ask yourself why you're not allowed to report on these things. And the fact of the matter is they were actually quite successful because the whole people are afraid to comment on the New Zealand incident and the Sri Lankan incident. And it has gone away from the news as well. So the clampdown by the social media companies has worked there. So that's the equivalent of a D notice in my book.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but let's even almost, sorry, Rhea, I've just got a thought just came to mind. You taught me about, don't just say Google it, say search it. And I apply that same attitude now to, this isn't the news. This isn't like italics, the news. This is a bunch steaming pile of drivel fed to us through their puppet Mockingbird outfits that are all talking the same stories. We've seen the videos, countless boxes of videos saying the same script by wooden-headed newsreaders. It's not the news. The news is what goes on. This is just the one-sided, one-biased-eyed reporting of it that seems to be linked up through this insidious network that's been around for yonks, and we're getting rid of it. Sorry to interrupt, Rhea. Back to you.
Oh no, it's fine, sweetie, fine. It's quite compelling stuff, isn't it? Okay, so to move it on, I just want to state as well that there's a media get together. I think it's called Free Media or something like that, to which RT isn't invited to. So there's that media event going on. RT not invited. They've made it known. So it's Free Media, but they're not invited. So that's what free means these days. We've also got a media summit going on, which we'll speak to that in a moment, because Tim Cast is going, Project Veritas is going to meet President Trump. We'll get that in a minute, right? But I want to throw a cat amongst pigeons here. And the idea with the kitchen table is, as we move forward into a world where it's easier not to say, like you said, DB, maybe we go about it like this, maybe we go about it like that. I see it as incremental. It's rather like no smoking in bars. Can you just move over there because I don't like smoke, right? So you do that, and then they go, well, actually, can you move outside the door because we're not into it because the kids. How can you argue that? All right, I'll go outside the door. Actually, can you move down the road? It's all incremental, isn't it? Personally, the idea of the kitchen table was to keep it real, right? And I'm going to do a bit of real now. I feel that I've seen enough now with this judge manufacturing evidence, saying everybody knows that saw that Tommy Robinson video, he did not ask his followers to harass these victims. He was simply asking the press, who won't cover it, to cover it. We all know this. There it is, right? So I'm thinking, this is in the highest court of the land. The judge from the highest court of the land threw it out once, but it went upstairs to Theresa May, then to Geoffrey Cox, the Attorney General, and they had another go at it, right? So I'm thinking, how big does the writing need to be on the wall before you go, all right, we've lost this. We're not losing it. We have lost it, past tense. Therefore, we need to go and take it back. So we hear everybody going, oh, we've got to do it peacefully. Do you know what? I'm kind of over it, man. It's just get stuck in and take it off them. Because for me, for one, I've seen enough to say to myself, all right, this is gone. This is lost. When the highest court of the land will manufacture evidence, we're on a lost run here. And I don't know how big the writing needs to be before we go, all right, we've got to go and take it off them now, because they have shown us to the very core of our justice system that it isn't just. And if you don't have a just justice system, I don't know what you're fighting for. Memories of old, good times, reminiscent, I don't know. But for me, I'm up for getting up, not being peaceful anymore, and getting stuck in and organising the whole thing. That's where I am with it, which I realise is deeply unpopular, and I'll go in for some rebuttal because I know he'll have them. DB, what do you say about that one?
I just think getting
violence, the word violence is what you're looking for.
Getting peed off is natural. Then you've got to work with it, because once, and I only use this term very metaphorically, once the trigger's pulled, you can't unpull it. And it has been through history used as such a weapon of theirs to manufacture another historic precedents out of an old trash canned other one.
They do it anyway.
Well, we're in a new era. We're in a post-216 era, and there's a lot of, I hate the term woke, but I love the term woke. So, of a lot of people who are, really shaking off the ice follicles there and having a look at this and saying, this is BS, man. I'm not on my watch. I can't live as a person watching this sort of unbalanced, inverted nonsense go on. I want to live as a true person in a true world. It's honest and transparent. And we're going to get there.
I've just been honest.
We have to go. Yeah, and I think one of the most honest forms of expression is violence. But then again, these creeps have got well, it's even an actual thing. It's called the monopoly on violence. They maintain that it's a thing, but that's the power of the state. They maintain the monopoly on violence. So the first thing they do is make the pitchforks appear, and it's when it's the easiest thing to do. It's usually the hardest thing to do is the way to do things. Take the hardest option, and the hardest thing is to be peaceful and just take it on the chin.
Right, let me jump in there then a second. Let's keep it rolling. Oh, go on.
No, I agree with you, but you're there. You're on the cliff face, mate. I'm sitting over here in the Antipodes. That's just my generalised opinion. You've got every right to say what you're saying. Back to
Well, it's a morality, ethical thing, isn't it? Right, so I've just said it, haven't I? The idea with the kitchen table was, all right, just say how you feel. Don't yield to the political correctness, because the political correctness, which does lead to Marxism, McCarthyism, fascism, and all sorts of things, is of not just yield to it. I've said my piece. Okay, guys, we've seen it. We've seen enough. Let's take it to them. Scotty, I'm sure you're not on board with that. What do you think?
Well, I do agree.
Wow. You've gone.
Oh, sorry. I was saying
the minute he said that, he was snatched.
Come on, Scotty, spit it out.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, okay. DB, I agree with DB in quite a few things there. That essentially that is what they want us to do. They want. My theory is, which is no theory. It's nothing new. It's exactly what DB said. They want civil wars. That's essentially what they're after. Is what I'm seeing. But the fact is, as well, there has to be action. We've been dwelling in this. Now, the fact is, yes, it can be done peacefully. Because look what happened in India. Look what happened in India with Gandhi. Gandhi won peace through peace, you know. But obviously, we don't have the numbers of what India has. So something's going to have to be done. But at this moment in time, I don't know what a happy medium is. But I definitely think action is required at this time. Definitely. And I would just wait to see what happens with the Epstein case in America, and what comes out of that. If that, opens up a web of people, that might be, a kind of saving grace in a way, and could, in fact, do it in a peaceful way.
Yeah, but meanwhile, Julian Assange and Tom is rotting in a cell while we talk about it.
Yeah, true, but I don't think we're going to get them to overturn it.
No, I'm just making the point that we go the smart route. We say, well, look, we'll wait for this. This could make a difference, and we'll wait for that, and that can make a difference. But yeah, I need to acknowledge it's right now. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. They've just sentenced Tommy in manufactured evidence. We've got Julian Assange in prison. This kind of thing. And I'm saying, I'm going to move it on to Nan. How big does the writing want to be? Me, for one, I say take it to them, because there's a lot of warriors out there that want to get stuck in. And I would love to organise them. No, let me go to Nan, because Nan needs to say, hold it a minute. Nan, what's your take on that?
I think we're doing it. I think we're actually doing it. I don't think a few years ago that what we're doing would have been on the cards. This is new. I always say this, that we take it for granted, the fact that we're all here. But we've got bucket loads of evidence with regard to all of this sitting behind us. And it's all been saved offline. It's a bit like a blockchain thing. I think we're actually doing it. I think the violence, I wouldn't go against anybody who feels angry enough to lash out. However, we have to take into account that they do have their robo-cops, and they're well prepared to put them on the streets to batter people. We've seen that happen to the Yellow Vests in France. We also seen it here in Dublin as well with the water protests. They had their robo-cops lined up about 25, 30, 50 rows deep. Prepared to come out and batter the Irish people, you know. So I reckon that these are the forces that protect this system that we're actually talking about. So we've got to play it box clever here, and we're moving platforms, we're creating platforms. There's new platforms coming up all over the place, and slowly but surely the light is shining on these people, and the power is getting leached, I believe, away from them. But it's a slow process, and I totally get that, because I get so annoyed. Sometimes I have to hang up. I have to hang up. I just get so worked up and so frustrated. And I know that the Irish situation as well is a hive. It's a bubble of energy. It's literally all over the place, where, you know, the lads are sort of out there. There's some of them want to protect their own communities. They're saying, we're not going to allow this to happen here. We've learned from elsewhere. We've seen it happen. These grooming gangs are not going to be allowed to form. We're not going to have no-go zones in our little towns in Ireland. We're not going to allow it to happen, you know. So there is energy. The energy has been unleashed, I think. But where it goes, I'm not quite sure as yet.
Okay, let's just do a quick fast round and wrap this up then. I think DB or one of you wanted to get in. DB, any final thoughts on this one before we move it on to another one?
Yeah, is he remanded in custody, or is he out viewing application of bail?
I think he's out, but we've just come on, haven't we? It was still going as we've come on, so I don't have a solid answer to that. I do have a solid answer.
I think he goes in on Saturday.
I do have a solid answer to 6,850 girls were raped in 2015, though. Just saying. DB, do you want to take a final comment?
Yeah, things have a way of working out, and the wall at the moment with this small computer that we carry around in our heads can only see a certain way in the future. But in the capacity of the whole future, some things that are happening now sometimes make sense. And with hindsight, you go, I see. And the sheer fact that figure has come out to me through the course of this discourse over Tommy is a good thing. And I'm sure that that's only going to multiply, and more information like that's going to become more out by more people that are prepared to talk about it and get it out there. And one Tommy becomes 100. Back to you, mate.
Totally. Scotty?
Well, I'm just wondering, Rhea, because, you know, that's manufactured evidence. Will that get reported anywhere? Will the mainstream media report that? Where can you report that?
You can't.
People...
Well, you can, but it's not going to go anywhere because you're censored.
Yeah, can people not write to their MPs or something like that? Their local councils?
It's
whatever?
an option, but we've all seen it. It's an option, right? So I'm not saying it's not an option. It's what I'm saying is, like Nan said, there's a ton of evidence. They presented a ton of evidence for Hillary. Nothing happens. We see manufactured evidence from the highest court in the UK. Nothing happens. Tommy still goes to court. We've seen Julian Assange dragged out in the global political game. It doesn't seem to make a difference. If I saw something that I felt was making a difference, and come on, guys, if there's something new out there that I feel will move the story forward, I'm over it like a bad rash, believe me. And at the minute, I see evidence, and I'm thinking, well, if you're not going to act on what we've just seen from the Old Bailey, what do you act on? Have they got to knock on the door and have you by the neck before you sort of take this thing and go, look, this has gone rotten. This is a goner. It's over. So that's where I'm coming from. But yes, you can write to an MP if you want to. Will it make a difference from what I've seen? Probably not.
Yeah, look, I'll tell you one thing. Obviously, the Anons on Discord that have been doing this for 2 years, they're getting really, really itchy feet, as it were, or whatever the expression you want to use. they're getting basically on edge because they really want something to happen. They've been on it for ages. They're waiting for something to happen, just as you said. And if something doesn't happen, it could be the same situation over there because people are armed with the evidence. And yeah, you're right. It could lead to people out in the streets, but it's probably as a good thing. I've been saying for ages, mimic what the yellow vests are doing, but try not to make it immigration or right wing or whatever. Make it anti-globalist and get out there. I mean, America has so many people that it could make a difference out there. And if America does it, then the rest of the world may follow suit. Um, but that didn't go down too well with the Americans a while back, so they might have to do something.
Soros sort of lends himself to a big inflatable blimp, doesn't he? I mean, that's the sort of thing you want going on, that sort of a turnout with people in an anti-globalist thing, because a lot of people, it's not descriptive enough to some people, it's not exact. But if you went out and some people were posting videos on different sorts of pollution in the air, and Soros and all his little globalist buddies. But the bottom line, in London, you guys it's like America without the Trump. The deep state are running rampant there at the moment. So instead of trying to take out all these deep state minions, because the air is thick with them, it's just thick. You've got to go and they're all minions of the cabal in Europe. The old money, the old bloodlines. And they're cock of the walk at the moment. They're walking around because their deep state hasn't been challenged. But it's about to be. And once you challenge that deep state and then you reach in and you grab behind the EU, you grab that beast by the neck and make it squawk, all of a sudden it drops things. And all these little drones that are flying around are no longer powered. They've got no reason to push their whole agenda because they're not going to get paid from head office in so many ways. So they're like a cigarette tissue. They're just flimsy paper to knock over. But until that comes, they're cock of the walk, and they're walking around throwing their weight around like this against Tommy and against people and Twitter posts and this and that. It's the whole EU agenda. But you wait till the EU has really been kicked in the privates. It is at the moment. Deutsche Bank, Iran, a lot of things are happening. But again, it's a slow train, and I can appreciate how, you guys have been under it for a long time. But you have expressed the most tangible effect of power at all. You had a referendum, and 17.5 million people said, we leave. We don't want a concourse to Brexit and maybe some trade deals with blah, 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 blah. No, Theresa, you dingbat, we're leaving. And now she's leaving. And it's not all, hallelujah, kumbaya, but it's looking a hell of a lot healthier than it was for you guys. So things are going to get better. Back to you.
Really? Anyway, so
yeah,
there you go.
They will.
Oh, okay, no, I get it. That's all right if you're not the one rotting in a cell in solitary, isn't it? When that happens, this thing can't happen quick enough. So I think for people on the outside, we're cushioning it up and everything. We can procrastinate, we can formulate and things like that. But for the one inside, it's like, come on, we need to get this done. How much do you need to see that this thing's gone rotten to the core? So that's where I am with it. So everybody's said their piece. I don't know how you feel about it. Listening to this, put a comment down the bottom. It's up to you. I've tried to be honest. I don't want to yield. I don't want to join that famous Pink Floyd song, The Turning Away. I don't want to be part of the turning away. I don't want to be Einstein's definition of madness, to repeatedly do the same thing and expect the end result to be different. There needs to be a change of approach here, because meanwhile, while people are being smart, people are rotting in prison, and we've just lost another one. Now I'm going to move on to another topic, but
Ria, can I just say one thing left there? Like I said at the beginning of the conversation there, that we needed some leaders to start speaking out, and you delivered that there today with this Lord. What was his name in the House of Lords?
Lord Peterson.
What was that? Lord Peterson. Lord Peterson, that's the next story we should run with. That Lord Peterson from the House of Lords stated that 6,800 girls were raped in the UK by 8% plus Muslim grooming gangs in 2015. So there you go. You have Lord Peterson from the House of Lords has said that. Now, that's exactly what the change it will be. Do you know what I mean? So we run with that. That's a UK, that's a European thing that we need to run with. The Americans have showed us how to do this. You know what I mean? So we highlight when somebody speaks out, we get in behind that person and we highlight what they said, because that's credible. That's credible information. So we've just put that out there again. Don't know how many people are going to hear that for the first time, but I think that's really significant.
Oh, so do I. So let me just clarify. Hold a minute. Let me just clarify. It wasn't Lord Peterson that said that. It was Lord Peterson stood up in the House of Commons because he was talking about the largely Muslim-based rape gangs, and he asked somebody of official capacity within the House of Lords, do you know how many girls were raped? And it come back within 2015 by this official person from the House of Lords. I don't have a name. It was 6,850 girls were raped in 2015. So to be clear, it wasn't Lord Peterson. Lord Peterson asked the question, and that's what he got back within the House of Lords. And they're the stats that are going on, just to be clear. All right, guys, we're going to move it on. So with this, you've heard our take on this, on what's going on. It's all very shocking to see the highest court of the land manufacturer and a judge go. It was so not that. We all know that. And then we go on with, let's be smart, let's spread the word. So how are we spreading the word? We're spreading the word on the internet, aren't we? That's what we use. But yet the internet is getting more and more silent. Today, which is a Thursday, if you listen to this over the weekend, this is when we pre-record, there's a media summit, and Project Veritas and Tim Cast, amongst others, have been invited to meet with the President of the United States to discuss the problem with social media. Okay, so that's what's going on. So I've sort of said, I've almost done a call to arms, haven't I? I've said it outright, but then there's this other way to throw light onto these things, like 6,850 girls raped by largely Muslims in the UK in 2015, right? So you throw some light on that, but they don't want you to say it, not going to let it out. So they're holding a summit because all the Conservatives and anybody that's, well, centre's now considered right. I think we're mostly centrist here, but they call us right wing because we're not far left. It's all sort of moved. Then this statement comes up online yesterday from Facebook, and it reads as follows. And they're going to be talking about this in front of President Trump this very day. This is a Facebook announcement. Threats that could lead to death, brackets, and other forms of high severity violence, unbrackets, and any other target or targets where threats is defined as any of the following: statements of intent to commit high severity violence or calls for high severity violence, brackets, unless the target is an organised or an individual covered in the dangerous individuals or organisations policy. Right, I'm going to read that again. Let's just pull this down a bit a second. This is a Zuckerberg thing on Facebook. This is an official thing. It's a policy that's gone out there. I'll read it again. Statements of intent to commit high severity violence or calls for high severity violence, unless the target, so you've got target in there, just bear that in mind, that word target is in there, isn't it? Unless the target is an organisation or an individual covered in the dangerous individuals or organisations policy. So is what that's saying. So you've got the word target. What do you target? It's like a gun thing, isn't it? Statements of intent to commit high severity violence or calls for high severity violence. So you can't do that unless the target, so that's the key word in there, the target is an organisation or individual covered in the dangerous individuals or organisations policy. It's a call for violence. It's okay if they're on this list. Right, let's chuck this over to someone. Let's get Scotty in there. What's your take on this one then, Scotty?
Well, first off, the way this is getting reported, Rhea, um, CNN, our old friend CNN, their headline for this summit is Trump invites right-wing extremists to the White House. So in their article, they mention some of the people who are there. Now, they don't mention Tim Pool, which is odd. So they just go after all the right leaning, as they state it, right leaning people, and again, it's just ridiculous. It's just they're making up lies. They're saying the um, the right wing extremist QAnon conspiracy theory. Everything's just like fear mongering, and well, lies as well. And Vanity Fair, exactly the same. They're saying, "Oh, Trump invites right wing trolls to the White House," and it's yeah. Yeah, it's just again. This is it's another inversion, isn't it? Again, that the fact that they can, and we've seen this actually. We've seen this week when that Leah Doherty threw the milkshake over Gran Torino, an Irish patriot. You know, she caught it. She was caught doing it. She filmed it herself, or she had one of her minions recording it, and she posted about it on Twitter and Facebook that she had threw a mix of Coke and curry sauce or curry powder over them, which again is dangerous. That's violence. Curry powder in your eyes, not a pleasant experience, especially if it's got Coke in it and the sugar sticks to your face. Not very nice at all. It's obviously premeditated. But she is saying ridiculous things. Oh, this is just one example. She's saying various really horrible, bad things, inciting violence against people, and nothing gets done. And the fact that they deny that there's any bias it defies logic, because you could just take one post from one person and one post from another and compare them, and you say, oh yes, this place that's inciting violence and that's inciting violence, but why is that one not banned? Why is that one still up? Why is that one getting retweeted? It is ridiculous, and they're kind of saying, um, you know, oh, it's Silicon Valley. They're not, it's them that are mostly left or whatever. It's well, fix it. Um, they're kind of saying, oh, they've gone to amazing lengths to avoid confronting right-wing voices that advocate hate and racial division. This summit is a waste of taxpayer dollars intended to pressure tech companies ahead of the 2020 election to score political points. Come on. If you want to talk about scoring political points, what are the Democrats doing? They are smuggling people in from other countries to vote for them so they win. Just don't go there. I find the fact that Trump's doing this as well, it's a tip of the hat, it's a nod to all the anons out there that have been doing this for such a long time. It's just saying, look, I respect the fact that these guys are fighting the fight for us out in the media, and you guys are all fans of them. So I think that's Trump. He is the master troller with his Trump account, his Twitter account. He just drops a mic every day. Every day he drops a mic. So this is brilliant. He's just rubbing it in, as far as I'm concerned. Here's a little bit of salt in your wound. Lap it up, soy boys. So over to you, Rhea.
Okay, let's go over to Nan. Nan, your thoughts? President Trump holding what's being called a media summit. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, as you're saying there, the targeted unless it's targeted, and that's the key word there, because who decides who's targeted and which group is targeted? What was it designated there?
I'll read it again.
Issue.
I'll read it one more time. Statements
Yeah.
advocating for high severity violence, brackets, unless the target is an organisation or individual covered in the dangerous individuals or organisations policy. So you would need to look at Facebook's dangerous individuals and organisations policy to determine who they're saying it's okay to advocate violence against.
Yes, well, my point is Facebook do not have authority to designate individuals nor organisations. They don't have that authority. And we also have to remember that Trump's executive order with regard to terror groups and stuff, huge. I have it on file anyway, but the American government have put out a huge list of individuals and organizations that are on a valid list. So we just need to state categorically that Facebook do not have the authority to do that. Now, as we've seen, Facebook, Google, and Twitter, or Facebook, Twitter, and Google, I think, appeared before the U.S. Senate as well. And each of those people ignored the rules of the state, and they also said, well, according to our protocols, such and such. So these people have set themselves up as the institutions, they've replaced government, they've replaced the constitution and so forth. So this is very dangerous, I believe, that because we know what Facebook, Google and Twitter are, that they should target individuals and groups. I think this is extremely dangerous statement by Zuckerberg, if it was him that made it, and that Trump needs to move in on this.
Totally. DB, your thoughts?
Oh yeah, it's the little it is all coming from the left wing. I know it sounds a general thing to say, but this is a little communist boiled down to socialist, then into some sort of capitalist Marxist capitalism sort of. The story in Russia is a Russian journalist is charged with controlling minds and affecting the human subconsciousness by referring to Orwell's 1984 novel in this article. Just referred to it. A Russian journalist said he's been accused of controlling minds because he referred to Orwell's 84. Mikhail Romanov, doesn't sound Russian, a reporter for the Yakutsk Vechernev Weekly, who was writing a story on the alleged torture of an academic. You don't want to do that. And then he referred to 1984. So he's got to pay basically a £750 fine. No, £785 fine. It's 50,000 rubles. But, this is just... the left wing would love it. Stalin wasn't Russian. He was a Georgian. And he was raised in a seminary too. But the first thing he would squash was religion and freedom of speech. And when he was a bit annoyed with the Ukraine, they just went in, and when they found any hidden grain, they went straight into the houses. The first thing they took was all their religious emblems, all their gold, everything about the history of that country, of that family, they melted down the gold, but they made sure they took the religious things. I mean, the commissars even wrote, we even took the pillows away from the sleeping heads of their babies. And boom, they didn't even have a husk of grain, and he killed 6 million people that way. That's the way it starts. That's utopia for some of these left-wing nut bars. I tell you what, AOC would be, rolling around and that sort of stuff. So this is what is also facing you, this empower entrusted to people who should not have it, from the court system to the coppers wielding a baton with the City of London on their back, right through to the whole misnomer and inverted sense of justice. Justice for them, but not justice for this horrible proletariat. No, they're going to take away your religious icons. They're going to take away your history. They're going to take away your free speech. And in the end, they're going to kill a lot of you with starvation if they could. But to stop gaps have been put in to stop that. They'll still rattle their sabres. So the head of the beast is going to be grabbed. Don't worry about these drones. They'll continue to rattle their sabres until they've been shut up good and proper, and they will be. Back to you.
Okay, I'm going to jump in. The original point was Donald Trump's holding a social media summit with I Only Know T, Tim Pool and Project Veritas after the Google leak. Everybody knows about the Google leak. There's been another leak as well. I think that broke yesterday or the day before. So it's going on. You guys have basically said, it's rubbing a bit of salt in the wound. I'm going to come back with, I think we need to do more than this, because if we're not going to take a call to action and go my route, which I think there's a bit of resistance to, and that's fine, but I will add a caveat to that. If you are listening to this and you are teetering on the edge of nihilism being, oh, it's not worth it, you can't do anything, it's like, oh, you're in that place, your time has gone past to take action. The only way you can get out from a state of nihilism is by a course of action and decision making. So don't be Winston from 1984. Don't give in. Don't join the turning away. Sit down, muster up the energy, find a group that you can maybe draw some energy off while you recoup so you can take action. This is a take action thing, because I'm going to now say, I don't think we'll see any changes, and I'm concerned for President Trump in 2020 that if he doesn't take action in some way, that they're going to censor the thing down so severely, and we know Google are going to do that. That's right on their agenda. That he could lose 2020. I know there's loads of people that are going, no way, it's not going to happen. I know, too big to fail and all that kind of thing. But I'm just saying it's definitely hindering the free marketplace of ideas. And incidentally, there is no more capitalism that I know of in the Western world, at least, probably not anywhere else, is crony capitalism. It's been bought by corporates. But that aside, is, do we actually think that we will be talking before the 2020 elections, that, you know, as the lead up and everything, will we be here round the kitchen table going, boy, I didn't expect to see that action. All the censorship has come off. Let's go with Nan. Nan, what do you think about that?
Sorry, Ria. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I'm not sure. I think that if they pull the plug, you know, where does that leave us? It leaves us back on the ground here in our communities with the information we have. And then we'll go back to 1776, dropping leaflets and pamphlets.
My point, okay, let me restate that. Do we think we'll see President Trump take action, lean on the likes of Google and Facebook and Twitter, make changes to the positive, so the likes of the Anons, the Q teams, what I do, because they've murdered my YouTube channel, although we've gone another route, so it's all okay, but will we see positive action actually happen, and will we be here in a few months' time on the lead up going, boy, all the brakes have come off, our post and our talk and our free speech is now free to roll because President Trump did something about it? Do we see that day coming, Nan?
I don't know, Ria. I don't know. Honestly.
Right, there you go. Let's go, Scotty. Are we going to be talking that talk, or are we going same old, same old?
Yes, I'm hopeful. It kind of goes in waves, I think, for me. Ria, I kind of stand back sometimes and look at things and, you know, is this drama? You know, is this all just a movie? Is it all just a drama like the rest of the things? We just get dragged in here. And then again, I'm going, no, this, you know, this is good. That's just like the Epstein thing. We knew about it. We all knew about it already. But, you know, as I'm saying, if this opens up, then, you know, if it opens up the way we predict it will open up, the way we have all the evidence and connections, then yes, I predict that we'll be partying as we start to see the house of cards all fall down, Rhea, at that point.
Okay, so I'm in terms of social media. So if you post something where it's just getting censored, because it's a social, this particular question is the social media summit, not, I know there's loads of ramifications, I know that, but I mean purely in, we'll be round the kitchen table again another day, not too far away, and go, boy, Trump did it. My posts are getting out there. We're being heard. It looks like it's a free marketplace of ideas once again. Do you think we'll be having that conversation, or we'll be going, well, yeah, nothing happened then, they just had a summit?
Yes, Rhea, I think there will be some change. Because if you look at the platforms that we're on now, Discord has been relatively untouched by all this, and it is one of the main platforms that everybody's connecting on. So I believe that Trump will do something, and I think, was it not, remember the old tweet that said "Covfefe"? Remember that one? A couple of years back. Well, that covfefe was actually some act, I think, some communications act. And I think that is going to encapsulate this stuff as well, where it's going to regulate them. So, because right at this moment in time, they're a law unto themselves. They do what they want. So, yeah, I definitely think because he's on it, because they've proved that the Russian troll and Russian interference in the elections was absolute rubbish. It was just another made-up story like Russia, the whole Russiagate thing. So I definitely see it changing. Whether it's 2020 and we're talking about the same thing, yeah, possibly, but I definitely see it changing. Because more and more people are becoming aware of it. The news channels are getting caught out more and more, and people are talking about this bias more and more. And as I said, I was on Facebook yesterday. I scrolled up, maybe scrolled up for 10 seconds, made a comment, scrolled up another 10 seconds. That was me. I felt physically sick. So, yeah, it has to change. It definitely has to change. And I do see it changing. But sooner rather than later, I would say.
Okay, so I'll reframe it for DB. Are we going to be having a conversation in a few months' time where we go, boy, he didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk. The change has happened. The conservative voice, wherever in the world, is being heard once again. Are we going to be having that discussion, or just like, well, nothing happened, DB?
Oh, some people will be saying nothing happened because it's not happening fast enough for him. But he does walk the walk with everything he's saying, this bloke. The one thing that is stopping the wall a bit is Congress, but, I mean, they're going to play their games. They're not going to just fold. This is America's third war against the Illuminati. They had the revolution, then they had the Civil War, which was against the Illuminati-powered South from Europe, and then now they've got the final kickoff, cleaning up the deep state muck out of its system. And this is a major troll. To get these guys in there knocks a few dominoes over. First of all, it coheses them and gives them kudos they deserve, especially the Veritas guys. And it really messes with their heads, these idiots, man. And it's great because, we've got a situation where I think, okay, there's going to be an antitrust breakup within 4 years, and it'll be back to the gold standard within 4 years. And by the time Trump bows out, and possibly even his son Eric takes, one of his sons, I don't know, one of them takes over, it'll still be it'd be well bitten. Antitrust and the gold standard, and everybody will have a Bitcoin wallet. It'll be as common as having an email account. So there's some things, the ways the world's going to change, and a lot of it's going to be for the better. And it's not yada yada. It's all going to. These things happen slowly. Everybody on the Anons and all that knew about the island and this sleazebag getting over a year ago. I mean, people knew about them beforehand, and deeper researchers knew this was all common. And Acosta's involvement's going to come out to the light, and everything needs to be dragged out into the light. But you don't. That's the thing about the light of justice. You can't really just grab people kicking and screaming and hold them in the light and go, there you go. No, they've got to do it themselves. They've got to bring themselves in of free will. And they've got to be tricked and played and superseded to be able to do that, and out of their misconceived, inverted sense of loyalties, on the losing side. And this is the same as mopping up Germany in 45, 46. We just can't let the same mistakes happen and let the Nazis get out to Argentina, etc. History repeats if we let it. Back to you guys.
Okay, I'm going to pressure you guys now. Right, I'm going to put a bit of pressure on. So the question was, are we going to be here before the next election in 2020? Bearing in mind, we're talking about this media summit that's going to take place with what I know of at the moment, which is Tim Cast and Project Veritas. So they're going to do a meeting. Are we going to see talk or are we going to see walk? So I've posed the question. Will our slot get back round the kitchen table with our coffees or whatever before the 2020 election, which I think is August, isn't it? 2020, I think. Sorry if I got that wrong, but I think it's around then. Will we be saying yes or no? So this is a yes or no answer. Don't go politician on me here. Will it be yes, he did it, or no, he won't? Nan, yes or no?
Yes.
Wow, DB.
What's
no,
the
just yes or no.
Can you frame? Well, just ask the question. I don't understand the question you're asking. Yes or no? What?
Will we be before the 2020 elections? So there's the date, which I believe is August 2020. Will we be sitting round here saying that went well, action was taken, and our voices are being heard? Or will we be saying nothing happened, there was just a summit?
Our voices are being heard more and more by the week. And the 2020 elections are going to be a walk-in. The only thing that will stop it is an assassination or some film of him jumping around with an underage girl. And there's nothing. There is film, however, of the other guys doing that by the bucket load. Back to you.
So no, yes or no. Scotty, yes or no? Earth calling Scotty. Earth calling Scotty. We're just getting little bleeps. Scotty.
All right, okay. Yes, Rhea.
You're slick.
Yes.
You're almost as slick as Nan. So you got a yes. All right. So we got 2 yeses and there's somewhere in between or something. All right, guys. There you go. So there's my take is I don't think so, but let's see. Fingers crossed by the 2020 elections that the patriot voice, the conservative voice, dare I say the right-wing voice, will get freedom to mingle in the free marketplace of ideas fully without anybody going, I'll be insensitive. Right, so my personal thing myself is I don't see it happening, but fingers crossed. I'm hopeful, but I don't see it happening. Right, let's throw it round the lovelies here to find out what's on their minds before we sort of wrap this up. Is there anything you want to speak about, Nan, that you want any opinion on?
Yeah, well, for me, as I said, like there's a lot of processing going on and tuning, I suppose, going on, emotionally with regard to all of this, and it just brings into the question the spirit of the person involved and how strong do you need to be, because I know people who are not able for this. They're not able to hold the vast quantities of very, very negative stuff that we're uncovering. I also like to think that, I focus in on, for those of us who are able for this, we need to keep on doing it, because it doesn't take everybody to wake up. If you consider this, that they rely on followers, if you want to use that horrible word, sheep. Well, then, if something more benevolent arises, like the truth, well, then people will follow well. So it doesn't take everybody. So I think that it's perhaps just using up our energy. It's a case of how do you use your energy, you know? So if you fall down so many rabbit holes and you're fighting these leftist trolls on the internet or whatever, and they're ignoring the evidence and they're ignoring truth, and they don't seem to have any idea of the impact of what they're doing, because they haven't done any research. These people haven't done any research. They're calling us white supremacists, Nazi, fascist scum, Islamophobics, transphobics, and all of this, right? They've done no research into any of those terms or the significance of what they're doing. So I think they're probably lost, you know, and they need to be beaten down. Those people, you know, they will implode by themselves, because they have no logic, they have no reason, they have no evidence. They've been hijacked. Their moral compass has been hijacked, I believe. So therefore, what's the tipping point with regard to change? What percentage of us can make a positive change? So I'm still, that's what's processing with me these days.
Interesting. So it's a numbers thing or a percentages thing. How many?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of that will be... Wouldn't some of that be, it depends who that person is, because one person, say, who isn't out there broadcasting like this, for example, they're going to have X effect on a network effect, you know, the 1, 2, 4, 8, 16 and so on, 32, right? So you got that effect, and then you got people that can hit a button, which is why I brought up the censorship thing, that can reach a lot of people, or used to be able to, but you sort of can't anymore unless you're towing the Google line. So I think it's down to, it's not a straightforward math thing. It depends who does the talking, really, Nan, if that helps. Does that help?
I'm not that sure about that either, because there's a lot of people who have no voice that know something is wrong. And when this agenda comes for them, in other words, like the farmers in Ireland at the moment, or when they start coming after your property and stuff, people are going to wake up and they're going to tune in then, you know, when it starts to hit them. But we're out front, I believe. We're out front with this. And when these people do wake up, there will be something out there for them to wake up to. And I'd love to know what you guys think about what percentage of the population needs to be awake, because I believe that not everybody is going to wake, that some people are going to follow, and we just have to make sure that what they're following is the reinstitution of some type of moral compass for humanity and care for humanity. But the thing is, like, the American Revolution in 1776, I believe, was accomplished with a very, very low percentage of people. So, as was in the past as well. But we also have the fact that we now have this communications system that we never had before. And this is totally new. Even the fact that we're here talking around this table is totally new. Totally new. Up to this point in time, that was all controlled by CNN, MSNBC, the 6 corporations, la-di-la, 4 a.m. talking points going out globally. But this is something new. And so the effect of this remains to be seen. That's what I think.
DB, your thoughts on that one?
Oh, you're not going to... A lot of people out there just don't give a rat's about what's going on. They'll interact, adapt, and survive to whatever world's thrown up. The immediate politics to them is of no interest, let alone the history of the politics behind it, or the last 20 years, let alone the last 100. They just want their junk food and their immediate entertainment and their trash lifestyles. I don't care about waking them up. I don't want to wake the world up. I don't give a rat's myself, to tell you the truth. I will put the info out there, and it's a prerogative of the people to either pick it up or look at it. I don't. After my job's done. The thing is that more and more people are doing it now, so something must be right. And there's Twitter's full of people. People are more switched on about anti-globalist situations, getting right down to the nitty-gritty. Some of them are real specialists. We've got legal specialists, health specialists, sages. You know, we've got attack attack pit bulls that go right, right to the source of things, and we'll sit and pick at Google and get right in there. That's all good because everybody's got a job to do to chop down the tree, and it comes from the MO they're using is a soft inverted approach of Marxism, leading up to full style communism control, but it's all just an echo of the past. They lost in 2016. They don't have the control. They don't have the power. Again, they'll use the media to make they think they are. They'll use the media to make think Antifa and all that sort of movement is bigger than what it is. They'll use The View and they'll use Oprah and they'll use these Hollywood, I won't say any, I won't swear, but look, that's what you're going to get bombarded with. And that's such as the world we live in. Buckle up and get into it. I think we've just got to keep nose to the grindstone, reporting to it, weathering it, keep getting the information out there on whatever platform we have available. The very core of the structure is the info, getting that out to people. If we don't need a lot, we don't need to wake the world up. We just need to have more people doing exactly well, what's happening. To tell you the truth, I'm looking at the timeline of it and I'm thinking this is pretty cool. I'm waking up pretty happy. It's a big, slow-moving beast, and we're getting there. But there's going to be so many things along the way that we just have to wake up every day and hit the keyboard and do what we're doing because the information war is really relevant at the moment. Back to you.
Okay, I'll jump in there then. And Scotty, back to the original question. What's the percentage of people that, dare I say, need to be woke to create positive change?
Well, there's a few numbers thrown about the place, Rhea. There's one that's, quite dystopian. I think there's the one that says, it's 20% will be awake, 80% will be asleep. I don't believe that is true. Obviously, when that statistic, I would have to see where the source of that statistic is, but I think that's a statistic that was flying around before the internet. And there's another one, I don't know who said it, but they said something like, 2/3 of people will fight each other and 1/3 will just watch. So, they're pretty gloomy things. And that's another thing. We have to change our mindsets because we not only have we been programmed, but our education, our history is telling us what happens if you do this, this is what happens, blah, blah, blah. But as somebody said, as Nan said earlier, or the American Revolution, there wasn't many people involved in that. And it's about changing that mindset. DB was saying that people are, it's just, bread and circus. That's all that they're bothered about. They're not into politics. Like I was talking to my mate the other night. He's not interested in politics, but that I'm not interested in politics thing is actually, they say, oh, that's all politics, but they're not actually seeing what it's doing to their everyday life. You know what I mean? What it will do to their everyday life. A lot of people just see this whenever politics or politicians are involved, they just switch off, not caring what it's going to do. So I think it's mindsets. I think we all have to change our mindsets in a way that, well, if this is what continually happens in this circle of history or whatever, or this is what the stats tell us, or this is what the great minds of the 20th century told us, then we go, stuff that. This is the 21st century and we're going to change it. We are just going to turn things about. And I think it's we change our mindset. That's it, plain and simple. Just we have to be more determined and positive to change this, because if we don't, it's just going to smother us like everything else.
Okay, no worries.
Okay there, Rhea.
Yeah. I can hear you, darling. No worries. We're just, no, we can hear you. We hear what you're saying. So you're coming out with change the mindset. DB saying, look, this is going all right, this is a slow thing, it's going to take time, I get it. The original question was percentage, what's the percentage? So I'm going to jump in there. I've written a few things down as I listen to you guys talk, and I'm thinking it depends what the objective is. I would say to you, Nan, with if I was going to go to war, I would sooner have 100 warriors than 1,000 thinkers, let's say. So I don't think it's necessarily a math thing, which is what I sort of said earlier. I think you need the right people. So when 1776 happened, something happened within that group of people to bring that type of person to the fore to create that kind of change. So I don't think it's a math thing to start off with. I think it is a math thing, how many you need, but like I said, 100 warriors are worth 1,000 thinkers if you're going to go to war, sort of thing, where you need, there's a particular set of skills needed for battle, let's say, and thinkers don't have it, they're thinkers. So I think it's down to the people, but I wrote a couple of things down as well. I think we need to take a look at what's going in the schools, because everything is circular, isn't it? It goes round in cycles, and we've got these youngsters that have been got at in the schools. So we've got one lot dying off up one end, and then we've got the youngsters coming up from the other with a different moral outlook, a different ethical outlook. So to us, what we see as possibly the reason, logic, overlapping morals and values, we need that in our social cohesion, to cohese it together, to work together, which is not what we're seeing. We're seeing tribalism and groupthink and all those kind of things. So we've got to take a look at what's going on in the schools. What else have we got here? And I think in terms of answering the question, I don't think we need many to create that. So I'm with you, I think, Nan. The percentage is low if they're the right people, if that makes sense. Nan.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Bria.
Yeah, I mean, at least we're considering it. That's important, very important question as well. And I was totally taken there by what you said about if you're going into battle, 100 warriors are better than 1,000 thinkers. I'm probably thinking that we need all of them. We need the thinkers and the warriors.
Oh, we do, but on the battlefield, I'd sooner have the warriors.
Yes, true. But strategy is also important on the battlefield.
Of course, but you don't need many thinkers, do you? When you look at an apex of a hierarchy that's based on competence, there's not many at the top. Most of them are warriors at the bottom. In terms of percentage.
I think it's the brave spirit of the people, and to bring whatever it is that you can bring. Like, it's a bit like the archetypal thing from the Jungian, psychology. Sort of know what your archetype is and use it to the best of your ability. Go for your strengths as well, but also be aware of your weaknesses. And you're right, we do need the warriors, and I'm seeing that in Ireland as well. The single-minded energy that's coming out is. I recognise it. Warriors, Ria. The warriors are waking. They're definitely waking up in Ireland. They are, and this is what we're seeing. And but you need the thinkers as well. But you don't need the warriors to be attacking the thinkers. Do you know what I mean? So that's all a phase we're in at the moment. I think there's a lot of distrust and attacks going on at the moment. But if those forces can be aligned, I think it's powerful.
Totally. I would also. Oh, wait a minute, we're all queuing up here. Let me just chair it. Go on, Scotty, then you, DB. Go on, Scotty.
Yeah, I reckon in amongst them thinkers, so you have a few warriors. You've got to think that a lot of people are bottling stuff up. they've not had a chance to express what they feel about things because of this, the taboo-ness of it all, for you kind of saying something against the grain. So I reckon you've got a few more warriors that will appear out the woodwork if things start getting traction. Sorry, back to you,
DB, you want to
DB.
jump in?
Well, there's lots of different types all at work at the moment. You got Air Force. I don't want to use the actual word as used. People in the Anon movement that specialise in movement of airplanes. These specialists, man, they know what's going on in the skies, and a lot of them will have a quick sandwich and get some sleep and get straight back down to work because they know the bottom line is the story behind those airplane flights lend a lot of information to the big picture that's happening. There is a lot happening. It's a funny thing. The only one constant is change, and what's going to happen here at the moment is, can we pin it down? You know, this saying 100 monkeys dancing. Well, that comes from basically monkeys learning how to break shellfish on a beach and get the food out. I mean, God, birds do it. It's just how many learnt that on an isolated island at once, and what time frame? Well, you try and take that simian action over to human beings. Human beings have much more advanced and older soul, and they're a very resilient, impudent chimp, aren't they? So then we're not chimps, even though we're 99.8% bonobo in our DNA. So what are we going to do about it? Are we going to uprise? Yeah, clash to arms, monopoly of violence. The bad guys won again. No, they can't win anyway in that standard because they do not have the whole facility to wield violence the way they would set out to have done. So on the social media war, which is owned by basically 6 platforms of absolute venom towards us, owns pretty much a lot of the platforms, and that includes Facebook and Google and YouTube. Myself, I get some satisfaction about posting some info on YouTube, criticizing their source, their bosses. They've not been canned. The Soros video got canned. The eugenics video got canned. So far, knock on wood, I'm traveling okay. But we've just got to keep plugging away. And can we put a number down to it? No, we can't. Because what's one crint of a pendulum? What's one microcosm of a Fibonacci spiral? Because that's all it needs is to make that pendulum change the paradigm of its swing and have the gravitas of that moment leaning more towards the weight of the people. It's happening in America when you see those people standing behind Trump and talking about, you think they haven't lent some round table, coffee table talks of their own about Kennedy and about HARP and about chemtrails? A lot of them are talking about that, but it's not all preaching to the choir. There's people leaning on bars all around the world now, and they're starting to talk about Epstein and all that, because no matter how they try and hold it back, they have to get it out in the mainstream media, especially when they're trying to hang the Trump connection onto it, which is, of course, they're going to try and do, but that's part of the bait in the trap to come out into the light and to hoist themselves in their own petard the way they're doing. But there's a lot of petards and there's a lot of hoistings to do over the few years. So when will it form the gravitas? When it'll become an avalanche? I don't know. Do we want society and getting so that your kids have to stop school, so that there's power outages, internet outages, so that your company's looking at shutting down? No, that dystopia is not going to happen. It's about people gaining work, gaining employment, being happy because they've got some money in their pockets. And then we get on to getting rid of the evil ones. That's my take on it. Back to you.
All right, we're going to jump in now because we're coming up on time. What a great discussion. We could go on longer, but I daren't go any more than 2 hours, right? Here's the thing. Like you said, DB, there as well, I'll pick up on. It's about people being able to put food on the table, have freedom of speech, freedom of thoughts, not feeling oppressed and feeling as though they stand a chance in life, not just to either be a nomad or a serf, because there's no possibility. because it was 71 they come off the gold standard. The whole economy system went nuts. People have cashed in on that, you know, and they've done well. They've got houses. They've jacked up the asset value of a house to the point where kids can't buy it. And the kids coming out now have not got those opportunities that they did in the 70s when they unhooked it and then pumped the economic system full of banksters that just were into the money. So we are definitely in a situation where we're not living in that world right now. You know, the kids don't have those opportunities that the people from the 70s had. It's just not there. They have fleeced the economy. And here's an example. Since 1913, when the famous meeting went on with the banksters in Jekyll Island, when the dollar was reaffirmed and they formed the global reserve currency, since then, so it's just over 100 years odd, right? 1913, we're in 2019, is they have inflated 96.1% out of the dollar. So I'll put that in a different way, but 96.1% has gone of value from the dollar. So what that means is if you go to buy something in 2019 that would cost you $96.10. So think of what you buy for around that money, $96.10. In 1913, you would have bought it for $1. So that's how much value has gone from these currencies that we've got our kids coming into. There's no value in the currency. It's gone. They've fleeced it out of the system. So I just want to put that out there. Amongst all this political talk, there's an economic conversation to be had as well. Because we've got, in my view, I can't tell the difference between large organised crime, government and bankers. And I think they've fleeced the economy historically. If you look back at literature, going back to the 1400s, a global reserve currency lasts between 80 and 120 years. And the US global reserve currency is coming up to the end. There's going to be big changes. So we've not only got this political situation where we're fighting for free will in this mass surveillance state, which the people building the new internet, I'm not going to get into that, but there is a new internet being built on the blockchain. They know this. They've not only economically switched on, they're politically switched on as well. They've seen what happens when you distill power to a central point. It will, historically, factual, become corrupt, and they'll fleece it. So they're building a new online world that is decentralized, that you can't get to. There is no front door to knock on and go, we want to regulate you because you're taking a piece of our action. Look what's happening with the Zuckerberg thing. You know, he's on about starting crypto Libra coin, mate. They can't stop him quick enough, can they? Can you imagine if Bitcoin had a front door? They would have been knocking on it a long time ago, but they can't stop it. But it needs acknowledging amongst the political discourse, we have an economy that's done and change needs to come about. So take a look at the economic argument as well, which I speak to people about with everybody's going, leave Europe, and Ireland wants to leave Europe as well. You need an economic plan, because you're not going to survive. The lights will go off and you won't put food on the table. So you not only need the political argument, you need the economists to sort out the economy should you break loose from the EU. This is uber important, because people are going to turn on those people that got you out and put them into worse times. These are the people that Scotty spoke about. They just want to get on with their lives. They want to click and watch a video, go to work, keep the lights on, da-da-da-da. They're the ones that are going to set upon their own. That is what, because they don't get it. They haven't got the timeline that many people listening to this have got. And they're going to get really upset and turn on you and go, yeah, that was a good idea, but it's going to be much, much worse. So just bear that in mind. There's a lot of oppression going on, and it's economic as well. Right, guys, that's it. So I hope you enjoyed Round the Kitchen Table. I want to thank Nan, DB and Scotty for meeting up here around the kitchen table, having a coffee and trying to keep it real as well. I feel as though it's real. I've heard some good things today, and I want to thank you all. But we're going to see you on the other side of this on WBN 324. Just type that in your browser, WBN space 324, and you'll see chat rooms and all sorts going on. But meanwhile, we'll see you on the other side of this for more great content. Love and peace always.